So why don't you kind of give everybody out there that's tuning in a little bit of an idea of what goes into trying to select the tournament field for the No Glove?
I know there's discussion every year, all the time about how we pick teams. I should say the committee at Forest Park. Larry Pikars and Grace Kenny, they have a staff. They do a lot of work. They put a lot of time and effort in this. I've seen some of their spreadsheets they've showed me. I've asked for proof why you picked this team, why, and they break it down to the three major leagues they keep an eye on, which is Clyde Park, Forest Park, four leagues, Forest Park, Westchester, and Mount Prospect. We, at the time of picking the teams, which is July 1st every year, they go through, see who they played, what their records are, not only those four leagues, all the tournaments, the major tournaments. Now, we don't look at Claude Rhodes. These are open roster tournaments. We look at Westchester tournament, the North-South, and then the Chicagoland Championship. Unfortunately, this year we didn't get to look at the Chicagoland Championship, so we had a little bit less to go on. So it's not just fly by the seat of your pants type, we pick 24 teams. They put a lot of time and effort into it, and it's more than just, picking 23 teams that you enjoy and, who really cares who comes. They do a lot of work.
Well, I know that we've seen you out at the tournaments. We've seen Grace out there. We've seen Larry out there. So we know you guys do go out and spend the time to actually go to the tournaments. And it's funny because I think sometimes Larry tries to be incognito. He tries to be nondescript because he doesn't really want guys coming up and badgering him. But I know I was trying to interview him the one day, and he's like, Gio, I'd love to talk to you, but I got to go see these two teams play. So I always thought that was interesting. But I want to backtrack a little bit to the leagues because, for the guys in Washington Park, I've been kind of mentioning to them that they play with mitts out there, and that's not really your thing here, obviously. I think your motto is no gloves, never had them, never will, or something along those lines. So I would assume the fact that it's glove ball kind of, in your mind, isn't very relative to what you guys are doing here.
It's without a doubt the reason we do not pay attention to that league. I mean, of course, we know what's going on there, but it's a glove league, and we really are the no-glove nationals. That's what we're known for, and that's what we look at.
Yeah, and I think it was interesting because we're going to get to the four playing teams, but Penn Deep is, I think, a perfect example. They got out of their comfort zone. They went to Westchester. They're getting in the tournaments, and they got rewarded. They got noticed, and they got a play-in. So I think that's the way, we're always trying to encourage the teams to get out of that comfort zone, and especially if they want to play an event like the No Glove, you got to get out there and you got to mix it up with some of the bigger boys.
I can't agree with you more. I mean, that's what you do when you grow from a young team to an older team and a more experienced team. You step up in competition, and that's what we look at.
Yeah, and just case in point, now FETA, for those of you that don't know, used to be OBI. And OBI was originally a park team, and a lot of those kids came, and now they've developed into, really good players because they did get out of the park, and they did go and they did challenge themselves. Guys like the Smith brothers and people like that were originally on that team, they've gone on to like bigger and better things in terms of softball. So that's really, if you're out there, kids, that's how you get noticed, and that's how you get invited to an event like this. 50 years, as old as we are, we haven't seen them all, although you might have because you live here in town. But getting back to the No Glove, I'm always, it's one of my things. I always wish that for some of the events I'm involved with that we could get the type of participation you guys get from the town, the people that come to help, to volunteer. It seems like your park district has just a great relationship with the community.
Yeah, it's a 100% a community event. We rely on 100% volunteers. All our cooks, beer servers, that's all volunteer, mostly from the community. They take it upon as it's their party. They're throwing the party along with us, and they're great. They step up to the plate for anything we need. The community here has been 100% supportive of the No Glove softball for 50 years.
And we all know how tough it is to park, so they put up with that for 4 days too. But one last thing, because I know you got to go, JD, but on the table, folks, you can see this is a quilt, and it's pretty interesting because it's got every logo from every No Glove National tournament here at Forest Park sewn into it. So, JD, why don't you give us a little background on this?
So one of our residents here, Sandy Burns, her husband's a village commissioner. He was a park commissioner. She does a lot of work for us. And she made 2 of these quilts. A ton of work. We appreciate the work she did, and it's outstanding work. One is going to be raffled off at the No Glove National. We're looking for $10 tickets to raffle, 3 for $20. And one will be hung between the Hall of Fame, our new Ruse Recreation Center, and the park building. They'll move it back and forth. So players, fans, anybody like to support us and come buy some tickets, feel free to find myself, Larry Pikars, Grace, any of the staff. We can get those for you.
And just so you know, folks, I know George was panning it, George Bliss on the camera today. It's usually me. But up close, it's really a nice piece of work. I mean, you could tell that it was really well done. And so if you get a chance to come out here, you know, you support the Park District, you know, buy a couple of raffle tickets, because these guys do more for 16-inch softball than just about anybody in the game. So we know JD's going to be taking off. So JD, thank you.
George, thank you very much. Thank you for everything you've done too. These live shows have been awesome. I can tell you that.
Well, we tried, JD. You know, it's hard, but it's you know how it is. When you love something, it's okay. So, anyways, we're gonna start going through the bracket here, and you can see over above me now. George is gonna zoom in. So this is probably what you're all waiting for, and so let's get down to it. So we're gonna start off with the byes. These are the teams that got the seeds, and you can see they're numbered, and those are the actual seed numbers. So, of course, Tito's 45s, they were and are the defending No Glove National champs, so they're, of course, the #1 seed. Chicago Dynasty finished second, and they are, of course, the 2 seed. So then we move to Rack City, who finished third, and we have Brick, who finished fourth. In order. Now, this is the interesting part, because obviously everybody always is concerned about who the next 4 byes are going to be. And didn't really have JD on camera, but I talked to him a little bit before the show. And it came down 5 and 6 between Hex and Feta. But the committee apparently looked at the fact that in the last couple of weeks, Hex has beat the 45s twice. Now, 45s only got 3 losses, folks. So right now, Hex kind of snuck ahead of Feta as far as the Forest Park Committee is concerned, and they got the 5 seed. And Feta, who finished second in the North-South, they end up getting the 6 seed. That led us to the last 2 seeds, or byes, I should say, and number 7 was Signature, and number 8 was Flashback. So that, of course, was a tough go, because you had teams like Impact. You also had Miller floating around out there. Miller's doing well up in Prospect. So that's a pretty difficult choice, and that's what Forest Park, the committee, has to go through when they try to seed the teams and give them the byes, because you know, in a tournament like this, when you've got the 24 best teams, you know, playing that extra game, anything can happen. And we saw that a couple of years ago when 6 of the 8 bye teams lost on Friday. So anything can happen in this event because of how geeked up everybody gets. So now we're going to go to the very top quarter of the bracket. And what I did is I broke it down into quarters. So you have an upper and a lower part of the bracket, and then in each half you have an upper and a lower. So we're going to start out with the top quarter bracket. So you can see West Side Lounge, which is CJ's. They just rebranded. They have a new sponsor. They're going to play at 6 p.m. on Field 1 against Smackout. Talked a little bit with Jimmy Moretti, and some of the smack out guys, they feel like they've had some injury issues and they feel like they're getting healthy at the right time. That should be a pretty interesting ball game. Smack out generally tends to do pretty well in this event, and so that should be a good ball game. The winner of that team will feed into the 45s on Friday night. So Smack Out and West Side, whoever wins the prize is going to be playing the 45s. Then on the lower part of that quarter, you got Yep playing Iron, 6 p.m. Field 2, Thursday. So Yep, as you know, very good team. I think their claim to fame this year is they've beat Rack City twice in tournaments. So they're very capable when they get everybody out. The winner of that game, and of course Iron, been around a long time. They've been in this tournament, so they're always dangerous. The winner of that game will feed into Flashback Friday night at 7:15. And of course, 45s and Flash, those two portions of the bracket, will meet each other in the early game Saturday, or at least early for the winner's bracket, 5 p.m. on Field 1. So that's your upper quarter of the bracket. Now we move to the second quarter of the top bracket, or the bottom half of the top bracket. And this is where we got some pretty good matchups coming up. You got Solutions versus Donuts, 7:15 on Thursday. Field 1. Solutions has had a little problem getting some guys out, some minor injuries, but Jerry Brown, I'm sure, will have his full squad out. And of course, the Donut team, they just won the SSA National No Glove Class A tournament out in Oak Lawn, so they're a very good team. They got some very good players, so I'm anticipating that's going to be one of my first-round matchups to keep an eye on. The winner of that team will play Hex Friday at 6 p.m. on Field 1, and I think that whoever wins the Donut Solution games, they're going to give Hex a really good ball game, I think, because Hex is a good ball club. They don't have as much firepower as they had, having lost guys like Joe Krasny and a couple other guys. So, but Hex is, what they do is they just play good softball, and you can't sleep on them. Now we get to the bottom part of the bracket on the top, and this should be an interesting one. Wallace and Lose One, because they squared off in the SSA Nationals in the Winter Bracket Championship last year in Carroll Stream, and Lose One dropped Wallace into the loser's bracket. And then, of course, Hammer the Clam beat Wallace to get to the championship. So I got a feeling that there might be a little revenge in store there for Wallace playing Lose One. And, of course, last year when they gave Tauncey a little bit of a tribute, they came out flying against an Iowa team and beat them up pretty good. So that Wallace team, they're very capable. So I think that's going to be a good game. In the second round, the winner of that on Friday will play Brick. And there's a potential there for a pretty interesting game. Should Lose One win, they actually played and dropped Brick into the loser's bracket last year. And, of course, Brick came all the way back to finish fourth. So Brick might have a little bit of revenge on their mind if they should catch Lose One on Friday night. So now we're going to move to the bottom half of the bracket. And this is the upper part of the bottom bracket. And the first three teams I'm going to mention, this to me is the toughest part of the bracket. George, if you'll scroll up just a little bit there so they can see it. A little bit more, please. There you go. So what we're looking at here, this little three-team grouping here, we got Millers playing Chucks from Iowa, Field 1 at 8:30 on Thursday. These are two of the best teams in 16-inch softball, and Chucks is always tough from Iowa. Our people out in Iowa are telling us they've been the best team in Iowa all summer. So that's going to be a pretty big ball game. I would recommend, if you're going to come out on Thursday, get here early and check that ball game out. And then the winner of that, whoever it is, feeds into Rack City, and that I think is going to be a terrific game Friday night at 9:45, because Rack City's been playing really, really well. And so that little three-team grouping is about as tough as it gets. Then when you look to the bottom part now, you got Players Inc. playing Thunder on Thursday. Thunder's been coming along. They've been very solid. They got some good young kids on that team. And Players Inc., as we talk about most of the summer, just seem to play better in tournaments than they do sometimes during league play. So Pete's always got his team ready to go. And if I was Feta, I would be a little careful there because I think that Players Inc. Is always capable of really getting on a little bit of a roll. So you can see if you come out of the upper portion, if you're Rack City, Miller, and Chuck's, you still got to run through Feta. So, you know, if it plays to chalk, I don't want to upset anybody. But so that is potentially, to me, one of the toughest portions of this bracket. So now we're going to move to the very bottom of the bracket. And as you can see, again, George, you got to kind of pan out there a little bit and show the whole thing for me. There you go, there you go. What we got is Impact playing Traffic at 9:45 on Field 1. It kind of got whited out there, but that's supposed to be 9:45, Field 1 on Thursday. So Impact, a very good, solid major team. They've been around. What I think is interesting is if Impact wins, they play Signature at 8:30 on Friday. And this Impact team has probably beat Signature as much or more as any team in softball the last couple of years. I don't know what it is, but that's a matchup I'm sure Signature would maybe have hoped to not have their first game in the tournament. So I'm sure Impact, if they can get past a young Traffic team, will be sky high and very confident. Then we get to the bottom, and we have Old Timers, another Iowa team, the third one that came in. And Old Timers, a lot of good players, very good roster. Last year in the Chicago Championships, they finished 5th. It's basically the same team, except they picked up a couple of veterans. I believe Tim Walker and his son went over there. So it'll be interesting to see them. And, you know, the interesting thing is a lot of times when you think play-in winner, and we're going to get to the play-in teams in a second, you think you got a cakewalk. But as I'm going to tell you in a little bit, not so with Old Timers. The winner of the Old Timer playing game will feed into Chicago Dynasty, who finished 2nd. And Dynasty is always tough, very good defensively. They hit the ball, very solid. They're probably one of the 5 best teams in the game, 6 top teams. And so as a result of that, I think Dynasty shouldn't go to sleep, though, because Old Timers or the winner of the playing game is going to be a challenge for them. So now let's get to the 4 teams that are in the playing games. I think these could be the 4 best teams that I've ever seen in a playing game semi-tournament. Talked a little bit with JD about 10 Deep, how they kind of got outside of their comfort zone. They got into the Westchester League. They've been playing in a lot of tournaments, and so they kind of started getting some notoriety, and they get invited to the playing game. The Scout is rebranded, used to be Monkey, and we saw them this past weekend at the SSA No Glove tournament, the national event for Class A teams, and the Scout finished 2nd. They lost to the Donuts. So the Scout, very capable. We joke all the time with Johnny Less and some of their guys, is it the good Scout or the bad Scout that's coming out? They had the good Scout team out last weekend, and they played very, very well. Then you got Top Fleet. All they did was, in the Westchester tournament, they beat Miller, and they beat another very good major team. And that's a team that has been getting better. They were in the tournament last year. They went 1-2. And which is always great the first year you get in for a young team, because a lot of times teams will go 2 and out. They didn't. They actually won a ball game. And then we get down to the Woodpeckers. Woodpeckers, you know, they're a good, solid team. They went out late last Saturday in the last game of the tournament in Oak Lawn last week for the A No Glove. And they're very capable. Now, what I like about the Scout, Top Fleet, and the Woodpeckers is those 3 teams now have players that have been in this tournament. So they shouldn't be nervous about it. So we'll see how 10 Deep reacts. They had a little bit of a rough weekend last weekend, but I expect that they're gonna turn around and rebound. So here's the full bracket. We will have on the Forest Park No Glove National site, we will be posting this after the show so you guys can download it and look at it. Right now all we have is the winner's bracket, but we'll get the complete bracket with the loser bracket, plus what Forest Park normally does. They put it on Quick Scores, and they also put the bracket on their No Glove National page. So as soon as that information's available, again, on the Forest Park No Glove National Facebook page, we'll put that link up. So what you guys want to do is you got to like the page or you're going to miss out on all this stuff. So that's the bracket. We'll just kind of let you guys take a little bit of a look at it. Again, it's going to be online very shortly, and you'll be able to look at it. So now what we're going to do is say a couple of thank yous. JD for coming in. I can't really thank myself, but George Bliss for taking the time to come and run the camera and help with all the technology. And of course, the Chicago 16-inch Softball Hall of Fame Museum. Me and JD actually are board members here as well, so we got our plate full. But during the weekend, the museum will be open the entire weekend, so make sure you get in here. There's a lot of neat stuff. We're always rotating stuff around and through. And now, here's George Bliss.
No, I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it short because you can see I'm sitting in here.
Well, George, you're going to take us through the itinerary for the No Glove National for Tuesday, July 24th.
So first of all, I want to mention the WGN radio television flyover, JD, and that's July 20th. So all you folks listening right now, and we all love WGN TV, we say hi to them. On July 20th at 7:30 a.m., turn on WGN television, and guess what? The helicopter's coming, and they're going to shoot the beautiful, gorgeous fields at Forest Park with the mayor, with the staff, with the folks, with everybody, the entire crew. Incredible.
And hold on, George, and just in case you can't get up at 7:30, tape it, or I'm sure we'll have a copy of the video that we'll be putting on.
That, yeah.
Again, we'll be putting it on the Forest Park No Glove National Facebook page. Just search Facebook for @No Glove Nationals, and it'll take you right to the page. You've seen the logo up here on the PowerPoint, so you can't miss it. Go ahead, George.
Let me finish out here because we got about 5 minutes to go on the stream. Inductee Day. 16-inch Softball Hall of Fame. The guys that just got inducted recently. That'll be Tuesday, July 24th. This year we're going to Tuesday night, and I think it's a great idea. From 4 o'clock to 8 o'clock on Tuesday, the museum will be open right here where we're sitting. I'll be in here with all the staff, all the board of directors. Then about 5:30, we're going to gather outside. Beautiful right over here. And the new cases and all the plaques. Very cool. 6 o'clock to 6:30, we're going to unveil the new plaques. And then at 6:30, we're going to do the actual induction of past No Glove MVPs. And we're going to have some video for you on that later. Then we're going to have a really cool game on Field 1, the Legends game. All the old timers, all the cool guys, about 6:45. 8 o'clock, those playing games that you just mentioned start. And at 9:15, the final. I'm done here. Gio, I'm going to go back to the camera. We're going to sign off. Play softball. It's the greatest game in America. God bless Forest Park in the United States of America. And JD, thanks for coming in. And we're going to be on here often. And don't forget, we're on the No Glove Nationals Facebook page and all the other pages that you're very, very familiar with. So thanks for watching. I'm going back to camera. Send it home, brother. Send it home.
Thank you, George. And one last thing about the playing games. If I'm not mistaken, they do that via coin toss on the actual day. So these four teams have no idea who they're going to be playing for an opportunity to get into the No Glove National. And that's, like I said, folks, got to come out that Tuesday. I'm sure there are going to be more surprises along the way. And, they will have food and beer Thursday, as well as Thursday, etc. So all I can tell you, folks, is don't miss it. Come on out. This is the greatest tournament on the planet. Has been for 50 years. Nobody does it better. This is Gio signing off for the No Glove National Facebook page. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you soon.